So welcome to a brand new webisode. It's Sunday morning, 10:20. I just got back from church a little while ago. The family's out decorating the Christmas tree. Just realized first time since we got back to Grand Rapids in August of 2007 that we've had a real Christmas tree. We've always used this fake one, but half the lights are working on it, and I miss the pine smell throughout the house during Christmas. So we thought this year we'll go out and get a real Christmas tree. Speaking of which, I'm convinced that Walmart goes and actually trims their trees before they tie them up. Because when you go get a Christmas tree at Walmart, they're already wrapped up, so you can't really tell. We ended up picking a great one though, but I guess it would be symmetrically. It was just like the perfect shaped Christmas tree when we opened it up here at home. And it came with an added guest. This big old beetle came walking out of it. Didn't kill it. I actually picked it up and set it free outside. So it just now will live someplace else other than at Walmart. It's been fun though. Melinda's been going through the Christmas boxes and been finding a whole bunch of stuff, obviously, Christmas stuff. But then came across it, didn't know I had it. I got a Dale Earnhardt Jr. Christmas car. I was really stoked about that from 2008. I hadn't opened it. I don't know why. I guess I was thinking collector's item. But Kyle, the 5-year-old, came in. He'll be 5 in 2 weeks. Came in and was like, Dad, can we open it? And I'm like, sure. So now I can add it to all of my other cars that I have over here. I guess, why do I pull them out? You know what I should do is I should just do this. If you hadn't seen before, these are all my collection of Dale Jr. cars that I keep up here. Oh, there you go. Little Dale Jr. dude over there. Anyway, I was just excited that I found that for today. I actually did have something I wanted to talk about. Really good sermon at church today, talking about guided freedom. Example being that when you go, say, to a museum, or another good example would be Disneyland. We're going to go to Disneyland for our yearly holiday trip, Christmas trip. And you can take guided tours of Disneyland, but most people don't do that. They want the freedom to be able just to go on whatever they want to go on. You take a guided tour, though, whether it's Disneyland or a museum, you get a lot more history. You get a lot more background by somebody who knows what they're talking about. And without focusing on the religious aspect of it, the point of the sermon was you can have your freedom, but ultimately you find freedom when you obey the Word of God. What I found interesting about it was how it relates to what we see, whether it's the Occupy movement or in the past couple of years, this idea of Republican or conservative versus libertarian, and the idea of having ultimate freedom to do what you want. The reality is, though, not just on the biblical side, but in the real world side of things, you can have that ultimate freedom, but ultimately, if you express that ultimate freedom, you're going to end up being held captive if you don't use, again, that personal responsibility. You know, you can have the ultimate freedom. Well, I'm going to go spend my money on what I want to spend it on, or I'm going to spend my money gambling because I want to be free, or I'm going to spend my money on drugs, or ultimately those things you end up paying the consequence for. Sure, you may be free to do what you want to do, but you're going to pay the price. You don't jump out of a plane saying, I'm going to go ahead and be absolutely free, and jump out of a plane without a parachute. You're not really expressing your total freedom because you've got to have a parachute to keep you from falling all the way down. I know it's an extreme example, but when you apply that to, say, the Occupy movement, where they keep fighting this battle of whether or not they can protest in a park, express their freedom. Well, I should be free to protest wherever I want to protest. The Constitution grants me that right. Now, I'm not a constitutional scholar to go and decide whether or not the laws and ordinances we as cities put in place infringe upon your right to assemble in a park to express your free speech peacefully. But I will say that they don't seem too unreasonable in terms of rules and regulations. And if we as a city specifically end up dropping those ordinances, you end up either doing selective enforcement of the laws, because you're now saying one group doesn't have to pay the fees and sign the insurance waivers, right? But another group does, or you drop them completely, and then you have chaos when groups want to go and have an event and they don't have to sign things. We end up hurting in terms of the general fund. The city becomes liable in terms of not signing waivers and insurance liability. The ordinances specifically in place that have no camping out, staying in the park between 10:30 and at night and 7 in the morning, they're there for a reason. So we don't invite the homeless, degenerates, drug abusers, and violence. So again, ultimately you're going to be tied down by those freedoms, and reasonable individuals look at that and go, well, sure, I can still go and express my free speech, but at the same time, there are reasonable rules and regulations that we adhere to. And as we talk about all this freedom and the ability to be as free people as we want to be, ultimately we're only going to be free if we embrace personal responsibility and make wise decisions. And sometimes that means following the rules, reasonable rules, ordinances, and specifically laws that are in place. I just really, it was a really good sermon today. And again, not just in terms of the biblical aspect of it, but that real world scenario, if you will, how it relates to what's going on. That's what I just find so ludicrous about this Occupy movement. They always talk about this freedom of speech and their right to be free and blah, 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 blah. And even sometimes with libertarians as well. Here's a good one. I'll leave you with this one. And since I brought up libertarians, the drug use, right? As long as it doesn't hurt somebody else, you should be allowed to do what you want to do. I don't have a problem with that, but those individuals aren't free. They're going to be held captive by their drug use. They're going to be held captive by the money that they spend. That person who decides that he is going to cheat on his spouse, ultimately they're going to pay the price for their decision. Ultimately, they're breaking their vows in doing so. You're being held captive by your bad decision making. Your freedom, ultimately, your ultimate freedom will be decided upon your own personal responsibility. So there you go. All right, I'm going to go play with my my Christmas Dale Earnhardt Jr. car. Actually, I got to do some work, and I'm waiting to watch the football game today. A good doubleheader today too, with Cardinals playing. And then Broncos and Chargers. That should be really good. So thanks for watching. I hope you had a fantastic Thanksgiving, and I'll talk to you later.